Hey guys, tonight we're drifting into the epic birth of the United Arab Emirates. Starlit dunes, Persian Gulf breezes, a proud unity forged in 1971. Before you get cozy, hit that like button if you're vibing, and subscribe only if you feel it. Comment below, where you watching from? What's your time? Love hearing from Dubai or beyond. Let's dive into history. Before the Union, the separate sheikdoms, you walk along the quiet shores of the Persian Gulf, where the warm waters lap gently against the pearl-white sand, and the evening breeze carries whispers of a time long past. A time when 7 separate sheikdoms dotted this ancient coastline, each one a small jewel, glowing softly in the desert sun. The year is 1950, and you find yourself drifting like a gentle spirit through the peaceful streets of Abu Dhabi, where the morning call to prayer echoes softly across the low-built homes of coral stone, and the scent of frankincense mingles with the salt air. Here, Sheikh Shahbut bin Sultan Al Nahyan rules with quiet wisdom over a land where date palms sway and the desert stretches endlessly toward the horizon. You breathe deeply, feeling the warmth of the sun on your shoulders as you watch the fishermen prepare their boats, their weathered hands working slowly, methodically, mending nets that shimmer like spider webs in the golden light. The water is so clear, so peaceful, that you can see the coral gardens beneath, where colourful fish drift lazily in their underwater paradise. The dhows rest at anchor, their wooden hulls worn smooth by countless journeys, their sails furled like sleeping wings, waiting for the afternoon breeze that will carry them to distant pearling grounds. You can smell the tar and rope, the salt and seaweed, mingling with the sweet fragrance of jasmine flowers that climb the walls of nearby courtyards. In the early morning light, before the heat becomes intense, women in flowing black abayas move gracefully through the narrow streets, carrying copper water vessels on their heads, their movements creating soft rhythms like a gentle dance that has been performed for countless generations. Their jewelry chimes softly, tiny silver bells and bangles, creating music that blends with the cooing of doves and the distant bleating of goats. Children play in the shade of palm fronds, their games ancient and timeless, drawing patterns in the sand, building miniature forts from shells and stones, their laughter bright as morning sunlight, yet soft as evening stars. They speak in Arabic, their young voices carrying the same rhythms, the same musical cadences that their grandparents learned in this same place decades ago. The Majlis of Sheikh Shahbut is a place of profound peace, where tribal elders gather in the cool hours before dawn and after sunset to discuss matters of importance. Their conversations flow like honey, unhurried, thoughtful, measured. Each man speaks when it is his turn, and all listen with the patience of the desert, where coffee is served in small cups, the cardamom-scented brew, dark and bitter, yet somehow comforting. The ritual of preparation and serving and drinking creates a rhythm that slows the heartbeat and calms the mind. Each sip a small ceremony, each cup shared a bond of friendship and mutual respect. The coffee beans are roasted over charcoal fires, their aroma filling the air with the promise of hospitality and conversation. The grinding is done by hand in brass mortars, the rhythmic pounding creating music that announces to all who hear that guests are welcome and comfort awaits. Dates are offered, sweet and tender, fresh from the palm groves that line the coast like green punctuation marks against the golden sand. These blessed trees provide not only food, but shelter, building materials, rope, medicine, and sweetener. They are the foundation of life itself in this desert realm. The date harvest is a time of celebration, when entire communities gather beneath the towering palms. Men climb the rough trunks with practiced ease, their movements graceful as dancers, as they reach for the heavy clusters of golden fruit. Women and children spread carpets beneath the trees, catching the sweet bounty as it falls like blessing from heaven. Each variety of date has its own character, its own perfect time for harvest. The soft amber khalas melting on the tongue like honey. The firm mahogany zahidi keeping well through long desert journeys. The plump golden bahi eaten fresh, crisp and sweet like nature's candy. Each palm is known individually by name and heritage like beloved family members. A shade of the palm groves creates cool sanctuaries where life can flourish, even in the harshest desert heat. Here, vegetables grow in small plots, irrigated by the precious, brackish water that seeps up from underground streams. Tomatoes and onions, peppers and herbs, creating small oases of green in the vast brown landscape. Moving like a whisper on the wind, you float northward to the bustling creek of Dubai, where dhows with their graceful curved bows rock gently at anchor, loaded with precious cargo from distant lands. Here, Sheikh Rashid bin Saeed Al Maktoum walks among the merchants in the souks, his presence calm and reassuring as the aroma of cardamom and cinnamon drifts through the narrow alleyways. The creek flows like liquid silver, reflecting the minarets and wind towers that rise gracefully against the azure sky. You watch as children play quietly by the water's edge, their laughter soft as morning doves, while their mothers draw water in copper vessels that gleam like burnished gold in the filtered sunlight. Dubai's creek is the beating heart of commerce along the Persian Gulf coast. Here, currents meet and merge, fresh water flowing down from distant mountains, mixing with salt tides that rise and fall with ancient rhythms. The water changes color throughout the day, silver in morning light, gold at sunset, deep blue in the heat of noon. The dhow builders work along the creek's banks, their hands shaped by generations of working with wood and water. They choose each timber carefully, reading the grain like a sacred text, understanding how each piece will bend and flex under the pressure. Wind and wave. Their tools are simple: adze and saw, hammer and chisel, but their skill is profound. The launching of a new dhow is celebrated throughout the community. The vessel slides gracefully into the water, blessed by prayers and the tears of joy from those who built her. Women throw rose petals and rice. Children cheer and clap as the boat finds her natural element and rocks gently like a sleeping child in the arms of the sea. The carpet merchants unfurl their finest pieces one by one, creating layers of beauty that transform the earthen floors into palatial halls. The silk catches light and throws it back in subtle rainbows, while the wool glows warm, like captured sunlight. Each carpet tells stories of the village where it was woven, the family that created it, the hands that worked for months to complete its intricate patterns. Gold merchants arrange their wares with artistic precision. Necklaces and bracelets, rings and earrings, gleaming like captured sunlight in glass cases that reflect and multiply their golden glow. The craftsmen work, their hammers ringing, soft as temple bells, shaping precious metal into delicate filigree that captures light and holds it in patterns passed down through centuries. The traditional techniques of goldsmithing require infinite patience and perfect concentration. Each wire must be drawn to exactly the right thickness. Each link in a chain must be perfectly uniform. Each setting must hold a precious stone securely, yet allow its beauty to shine unobstructed. Spice merchants create mountains of saffron and turmeric, cardamom and cinnamon, their fragrances creating invisible gardens. In the air, each spice carries the essence of distant lands: Indian monsoons, Persian gardens, African highlands, Chinese tea plantations. Their scents mingle and dance, creating symphonies for the senses. The spice routes that converge here in Dubai have carried not only flavors, but cultures, languages, religions, ideas for centuries. Merchants share stories of the ports they have visited, the peoples they have met, the wonders they have seen. Their tales weave together like the aromas of their precious cargoes. Frankincense burns in small brass censers throughout the souks, its sweet, resinous smoke rising like prayers toward heaven. This precious gum, harvested from trees in the mountains of Oman and Yemen, has been treasured for millennia as the perfect offering to the divine. The dhow captains gather in coffee houses, sharing stories of their voyages to Bombay and Karachi, to Basra and Kuwait, to the pearl beds of the Central Gulf. Their weathered faces map the routes of ancient trade, while their eyes hold the wisdom of wind and wave storm and calm. They speak slowly, their words chosen carefully, like pearls, selected for their perfect luster. Ease sailing, masters navigate by the stars, just as their fathers did and their fathers before them. They know the names of every constellation, the times of rising and setting of important stars, the way the moon's phases affect the tides. Their knowledge is written not in books, but in their hearts and hands and eyes. The monsoon seasons determine the rhythm of all sea trade. During the southwest monsoon, dhows sail with favouring winds, the fabric of Dubai's life. They bring not only goods, but skills, languages, customs that enrich the cultural tapestry of the creek. Children grow up speaking Arabic and Hindi, learning business from watching their elders negotiate with elaborate courtesy. The Hindu temple near the creek serves as a gathering place for the Indian community, but its doors are open to all who come seeking peace and reflection. The architectural style blends Indian traditions with local materials, creating a unique beauty that speaks of cultural harmony and mutual respect. Persian traders cross the narrow gulf, bringing carpets and dried fruits, poetry and perfumes. Their dhows loaded with the treasures of ancient Persia. They share stories of Isfahan and Shiraz, of gardens where nightingales sing and roses bloom in impossible profusion. Their presence creates bridges across water and culture and time. The wind towers of Dubai rise like ancient lighthouses against the sky. Their clever design captures the slightest breeze and channels it down into the rooms below, creating cool sanctuaries from the desert heat. These towers, built with the wisdom of generations, stand as monuments to human ingenuity and adaptation. The internal architecture of these wind towers is ingenious. The air flows in carefully planned patterns, hot air rising through central shafts, while cooler air descends through side channels, creating natural air conditioning that requires no power beyond the eternal movement of wind across the earth. In the early evening, when the heat subsides, families gather on their rooftops to catch the cooling breeze from the Gulf. Children listen to stories told in voices worn smooth by age, tales of jinn and heroes, of wise merchants and brave pearl divers, of love and loss, and the eternal dance between desert and sea. The rooftops of Dubai create a second city above the streets, connected by bridges and walkways. They allow movement and socializing away from the heat and dust below. Here, women can visit with neighbors, children can play safely, and families can sleep under the stars during the cooler months. You drift further, deeper into this dreamlike journey through time, to the northern Emirate of Sharjah, where Sheikh Saka bin Sultan Al Qasimi sits in peaceful contemplation. In his majlis, surrounded by books and manuscripts, the scent of jasmine flowers floats through the latticed windows as scholars from across the Arab world speak in hushed, reverent tones about poetry and philosophy. The evening light filters through the carved wooden screens, creating patterns of gold and amber that dance across the Persian carpets. You feel the profound stillness, the deep sense of learning and culture that has flourished here for centuries, like a garden tended with infinite care. Sharjah's reputation as a centre of learning draws students from across the Gulf and beyond. Young men sit cross-legged on carpet-covered floors, memorizing verses from the Quran, learning the intricate rules of Arabic grammar, studying astronomy and mathematics, medicine and law. Their voices create a gentle hum, like bees in a garden of knowledge. The teaching methods here are ancient and proven. Students begin by memorizing fundamental texts, then gradually learn to analyze and interpret their meanings. The process requires not only intellectual understanding, but spiritual development. The pursuit of knowledge is seen as a form of worship, a way of drawing closer to divine truth. The libraries here contain treasures beyond gold or pearls, manuscripts copied by hand from recipes passed down through generations, combining carbon black with gum Arabic to create a medium that will endure for centuries. The illuminated manuscripts are works of supreme artistry. Golden geometric patterns frame the text like windows into paradise. Arabesque designs flow and curve in mathematical perfection, creating visual harmony that reflects the divine order underlying all creation. Poets gather in the evening to share their latest verses, their words flowing like music in classical Arabic that connects them to the great tradition of desert poetry. Going back to pre-Islamic times, they speak of love and longing, courage and honor, the beauty of the beloved, the majesty of God, their voices rising and falling like wind across sand dunes. The classical meters of Arabic poetry create natural rhythms that mirror the heartbeat, the breath, the pace of walking across sand. These ancient patterns help the verses lodge in memory, allowing oral transmission across generations without loss or corruption. Love poetry follows ancient conventions, the beloved described through metaphors drawn from nature. Gazelle eyes, cypress waist, rose cheeks, moon face. These images create a vocabulary of beauty that transcends individual attraction, becoming symbolic of the soul's longing for divine union. The astronomical instruments kept here are works of art as well as science. Brass astrolabes engraved with celestial maps that show the positions of stars and planets throughout the year. These tools help navigators find their way across trackless seas and endless deserts, connecting Earth to heaven through mathematical precision. The study of astronomy is considered essential for religious as well as practical reasons. The times of prayer are determined by the position of the sun, the beginning of lunar months by careful observation of the crescent moon. The direction of prayer toward Mecca must be calculated precisely. Wherever one might be, traditional medicine is studied here, with the same care given to religious texts. Healers learn the properties of herbs and minerals, the principles of balance between hot and cold, wet and dry, that govern health and disease. Their knowledge draws from Greek philosophy, Persian practice, Indian wisdom, and Arabian experience. The medical texts describe not only symptoms and treatments, but the philosophical principles that underlie health and illness. The human body is seen as a microcosm of the universe, subject to the same laws and harmonies that govern the movement of stars and planets. Remedies are prepared with elaborate care. The timing of harvest, the phases of the moon, the proper prayers and invocations all contribute to the effectiveness of the medicine. Healing is seen as a divine art, requiring not only knowledge, but purity of heart and intention. Young scribes practice the sacred art of calligraphy, their reed pens moving slowly across cream-colored paper, forming letters that are themselves small prayers. Each stroke requires perfect concentration. Each word becomes a meditation on the beauty of divine revelation made visible in human hands. The apprentice calligraphers begin by learning to prepare their own materials, cutting and shaping reed pens, mixing inks, preparing paper with the proper texture and absorbency. These preliminary skills teach patience and attention to detail, essential qualities for the sacred work ahead. Different styles calligraphy are suited for different purposes. The bold Kufic script, appropriate for architectural inscriptions. The flowing Naskh, perfect for copying manuscripts. The ornate Thuluth, reserved for the most sacred texts. Each style has its own personality, its own spiritual resonance. Floating like a gentle breeze, you arrive in Ajman, the smallest of the 7 sheikdoms, where Sheikh Rashid bin Gumaid al-Nuaimi tends to his people with the devotion of a gardener, caring for each precious flower. The narrow streets wind peacefully between simple homes, where families gather in courtyards, sharing stories under the stars, their voices soft as lullabies. Here, the pace of life flows like honey, slow and sweet, as fishermen return with their catch, and women weave baskets from date palm fronds, their fingers moving in ancient rhythms, passed down through countless generations. The air is filled with the gentle sounds of daily life, unhurried, uncomplicated, beautiful in its simplicity. The fishing boats of Ajman are small but perfectly crafted, their hulls shaped by generations of accumulated wisdom about wood and water, wind and wave. Each boat is painted in bright colours, blues and greens, reds and yellows, that reflect cheerfully in the calm waters of the harbour, making the fleet look like a gathering of tropical birds. The boat builders work in small yards near the harbour. Their tools are simple but effective. The same designs have been refined over centuries, each generation making small improvements based on experience and observation. The result is vessels that are perfectly adapted to local conditions. Fishermen prepare their nets with the patience of craftsmen, checking every knot, mending every tear, their weathered hands moving with the sureness that comes from lifelong practice. They know the habits of different fish, the best times for casting, the subtle signs of weather change that can mean the difference between safety and danger. For small, schooling fish requires different nets and methods than deep water fishing. For larger, solitary species, each technique is perfectly adapted to its purpose. Net making is an art in itself. The fibers must be twisted and knotted with precise tension to create nets that are strong enough to hold a struggling catch, yet light enough to handle easily. Different mesh sizes are used for different types of fish. The catch is shared according to ancient customs that ensure no family goes hungry. Widows and orphans receive their portion without question or shame. The surplus is preserved by drying and salting, techniques that allow the bounty of good days to sustain the community through leaner times. Women gather in shaded courtyards to clean and prepare the fish. Their hands work quickly and efficiently, removing scales and bones, cutting the flesh into portions suitable for drying. Their conversations flow like music, sharing news and gossip, wisdom and advice. The drying of fish requires careful attention to wind and weather. The pieces must be arranged on palm frond mats in patterns that allow air to circulate freely. Salt is rubbed into the flesh to draw out moisture and prevent spoilage. Play among the fishing nets, learning by observation and imitation the skills they will need as adults. Boys practice tying knots and mending nets, while girls help their mothers with the cleaning and preparation of the catch. The traditional songs of the fishermen help coordinate their work and maintain morale during long days at sea. The rhythms match the movements of rowing and hauling nets, while the words tell stories of bravery and success on the water. You continue your peaceful journey to Al Quwain, where Sheikh Ahmad bin Rashid Al Mualla rules over lagoons and mangroves, where flamingos wade in the shallow waters. Their pink reflections shimmering like rose petals scattered on glass. The air here is different, filled with the earthy scent of salt marshes and the whisper of wind through reed beds. It is a place where time seems to pause, where the natural world exists in perfect harmony. The mangrove ecosystem here is one of the most productive and complex in the Persian Gulf. The trees themselves are remarkable organisms, able to extract fresh water from salt water through specialized root systems that filter out the salt. The root system of mangrove trees creates a three-dimensional habitat that supports the canopy above, provides nesting sites for hundreds of species of birds. Herons and egrets build their nests in the upper branches, while smaller songbirds find shelter and food among the leaves and twigs. The changing tides bring fresh nutrients twice daily, feeding the entire ecosystem. During high tide, the roots are completely submerged, creating underwater forests where fish swim among the branches. During low tide, the exposed roots provide perches for birds and access for land animals. Flamingos arrive in great flocks during certain seasons, their brilliant pink plumage creating stunning displays against the green of the mangroves and the blue of the sky. They feed on tiny shrimp and algae that thrive in the shallow, warm waters. The sight of hundreds of flamingos taking flight at once is one of the great natural spectacles of the region. Their wings beat in synchronized rhythm, creating a sound like distant thunder, while their pink forms create moving clouds against the horizon. Other water birds also thrive here. Pelicans dive for fish with spectacular precision. Cormorants swim underwater, pursuing their prey with remarkable agility. Terns and gulls patrol the surface, looking for small fish and crustaceans. The fishing techniques used in the mangrove areas are specially adapted to the shallow waters. Complex environment. Fish traps made from palm fronds are placed at strategic points where fish are likely to pass during tidal movements. Traditional boats called oars are used for fishing in the mangroves. These small, flat-bottomed vessels can navigate in very shallow water and can be poled through narrow channels between the trees. Their design has been perfected over centuries of use. The collection of honey from wild bees is another traditional activity in the mangroves. The bees build their hives in hollow trees or among the aerial roots. The honey they produce has a distinctive flavor, influenced by the nectar of mangrove flowers. Your journey carries you onward to Ras Al Khaimah, where the Hajar Mountains rise majestically. Their ancient peaks Bathed in the soft light of dawn, Sheikh Sakr bin Mohammed al-Qasimi surveys his domain from these heights, where the cool mountain air carries the scent of wild herbs and ancient stones. From these peaks, you can see the entire northern coast, stretching away like a golden ribbon, dotted with fishing villages, where smoke rises lazily from cooking fires, and children play in the shade of date palms. The mountains here have witnessed the passage of millennia, their silence profound and comforting. The Hajar Mountains are among the oldest geological formations on Earth. Their rocks tell the story of ancient seas and continents, of volcanic activity and tectonic movements that shaped the region over hundreds of ages. Millions of years. The higher elevations receive more rainfall than the coastal plains, creating microclimates where different plants and animals can survive. Wild olive trees grow in protected valleys, while juniper and other mountain shrubs cling to rocky slopes. Mountain springs bubble forth crystal clear and cool from hidden sources deep within the rock. These precious water sources have supported many lifespans, human settlement for thousands of years, allowing the cultivation of terraced gardens on otherwise barren slopes. The terraced gardens climb the mountainsides like green staircases, where farmers tend ancient varieties of fruits and vegetables. Date palms grow in the warmer lower terraces, while pomegranates and citrus trees thrive at higher elevations where the air is cooler. The construction of these terraces required enormous labor and skill. Each stone wall must be built carefully to retain soil and water while allowing proper drainage. The knowledge of terrace construction has been passed down through generations of mountains. Farmers' traditional irrigation systems called a flage channel water from mountain springs through carefully engineered channels to farms and villages below. These systems represent some of the most sophisticated water management technology ever developed, allowing agriculture to flourish in arid environments. The social organization required to maintain these irrigation systems is complex and sophisticated. Water rights are allocated according to ancient agreements that balance the needs of different communities. Maintenance work is shared according to established schedules that ensure the system continues to function. Mountain villages are built into the landscape with remarkable skill. Houses are constructed from local stone using techniques that provide excellent insulation against both heat and cold. Flat roofs serve as additional living space and for drying crops. The traditional architecture makes maximum use of natural materials and climate control. Techniques: thick stone walls, moderate temperature swings. Small windows reduce heat gain during summer, while courtyards create cool microclimates through evaporation and air movement. Handicrafts produced in the mountain villages reflect the skills and materials available in the high country. Pottery, made from local clay, silver jewelry crafted from ore mined in the mountains. Textiles, woven from wool and goat hair, all reflect the harsh beauty of the mountain environment. Mining has been carried out in these mountains for thousands of years. Copper and other metals were extracted using traditional techniques and traded throughout the Persian Gulf region. Archaeological evidence suggests that these mines were among the most important sources of metal in the ancient world. Finally, you drift to the mountainous enclave of Fujairah, where Sheikh Mohammed bin Hamad al-Shaki rules over a land where the mountains meet the sea. Here, on the eastern coast, the Gulf of Oman stretches toward the horizon, its waters deeper, more mysterious than those of the western shore. The terraced gardens here climb the mountainsides like green staircases, where farmers tend ancient varieties of fruits, their orchards blessed by mountain springs that bubble forth crystal clear and cool. You breathe in the mountain air, fresh and clean, filled with the fragrance of wild flowers and the distant sound of water cascading over stone. The eastern coast of the peninsula faces the Indian Ocean, receiving different weather patterns and monsoon influences than the Persian Gulf side. The waters here are deeper and more turbulent, supporting different species of marine life. Fishing techniques on the eastern coast must be adapted to these different conditions. Larger boats are needed to handle the heavier seas. Different types of nets and lines are used for the different species found in these deeper waters. The monsoon rains that reach this coast brings more precipitation than the Persian Gulf side receives. This additional water supports more extensive agriculture and allows for the cultivation of crops that cannot survive in more arid areas. Frankincense trees grow wild on the mountain slopes of Fujairah. These remarkable trees produce the aromatic resin that has been prized for religious and medicinal purposes for thousands of years. The harvesting of frankincense follows ancient techniques that ensure the trees continue to produce for many years. The frankincense trade created some of the earliest commercial connections between the Arabian Peninsula and many great civilizations of antiquity. Egyptian pharaohs, Roman emperors, and Chinese dynasties all treasured this precious aromatic resin, creating demand that supported entire communities along the trade routes. The harvest of frankincense requires great skill and timing. The trees must be scored at precisely the right moment to allow the resin to flow without damaging the tree. The collected resin is then graded according to color and purity, with the finest grades reserved for the most sacred purposes. Mountain streams flow year-round in some valleys, creating oases of green in the otherwise brown landscape. These streams support not only agriculture, but also wildlife that cannot survive in more arid areas. Birds and animals from the mountains of Iran and Baluchistan find refuge here during their seasonal migrations. The traditional architecture of Fujairah reflects both mountain and coastal influences. Houses are built from stone quarried in the mountains, but incorporate design elements borrowed from India. Coastal buildings, traditions. Courtyards provide cool spaces for family life, while upper stories catch cooling breezes from the sea. Traditional boats used along the eastern coast are different from those used in the Persian Gulf. They must be more robust to handle the rougher seas, and are often equipped with different types of sails and rigging suited to the different wind patterns found here. Each of these 7 sheikdoms exists like a separate world, with its own rhythms, its own character, its own gentle beauty. Yet as you drift between them, you begin to sense something more, a deeper connection, like threads of silk, invisible but strong, weaving them together. The call to prayer that echoes 5 times daily across all 7 territories creates a shared rhythm of spiritual observance that transcends political boundaries. Whether heard from the minarets of Dubai's Creek or the mountain villages of Ras Al Khaimah, the same Arabic words call the faithful to the same acts of devotion. The Arabic language itself serves as a unifying force throughout the region, although local dialects vary slightly from place to place. The classical Arabic of religious texts, poetry, and formal discourse is the same everywhere. This shared linguistic heritage allows for easy communication and cultural exchange. Trade networks connect all 7 sheikdoms in webs of commercial relationships that ignore political boundaries. A merchant from Sharjah might finance a pearling expedition from Abu Dhabi, while a dhow captain from Dubai might carry dates from Ajman to markets in India. The seasonal patterns of trade create rhythms that affect all 7 territories similarly. During the pearling season, entire communities focus their energies on the dangerous but potentially lucrative harvest from the sea. During the date harvest, attention turns to the palm groves and the preparation of this staple food for storage and trade. Marriage alliances between families from different sheikdoms create kinship networks that span the entire coast. These personal relationships often prove more durable and significant than formal political arrangements. Children grow up with relatives throughout the region, making the boundaries between territories seem less important than family connections. The pilgrimage to Mecca brings together faithful from all 7 sheikdoms in great caravans that travel together for safety and companionship. These shared spiritual journeys create bonds that last lifetimes as pilgrims support each other through the hardships and revelations of the sacred journey. Traditional laws based on Islamic jurisprudence and Bedouin custom create similar legal frameworks throughout the region. Disputes between people from different sheikdoms can be according to principles that all recognize and respect. Shared legal tradition facilitates trade and cooperation across political boundaries. Educational traditions center around the same core texts and methods throughout the region. Young people can study in any of the 7 territories and receive education that is recognized and valued everywhere. Scholars and teachers move freely between different courts and centers of learning. The great seasonal festivals are celebrated with similar customs and traditions throughout all 7 territories. Eid al-Fitr, marking the end of Ramadan, and Eid al-Adha, commemorating Ibrahim's sacrifice, are observed with the same customs. Prayers, feasts, and gift-giving in all communities. Traditional medicine draws on the same sources of knowledge and uses similar herbs and treatments throughout the region. Healers share information about successful treatments and new discoveries, creating a common body of medical knowledge that serves all communities. Handicrafts and artistic traditions show clear influences and exchanges between all 7 territories. Silver working techniques developed in the mountains appear in coastal jewelry. Weaving patterns from Bedouin traditions influence textiles produced in settled communities. Pottery styles show evidence of trade and cultural exchange. The pearl diving season creates shared experiences and common concerns that unite all coastal communities. The dangers faced by divers, the techniques for finding and harvesting oysters, the methods for grading and selling pearls are similar throughout the region. Pearl merchants travel between all 7 sheikdoms, assessing the quality of different harvests and establishing prices that are recognized throughout the region. Their expertise is respected everywhere, and their decisions affect the prosperity of entire communities. The great pearl beds of the Persian Gulf are shared resources that belong to no single sheikdom. Diving fleets from all 7 territories work the same areas, often cooperating in operations and sharing information about conditions and opportunities. Traditional navigation techniques and currents are shared freely among all mariners regardless of their home port. The sea is dangerous enough, without artificial barriers to the sharing of life-saving information. Weather patterns and seasonal changes affect all 7 sheikdoms, similarly creating shared experiences of plenty and scarcity, storm and calm, that require similar responses and generate common concerns. The timing of monsoons, the intensity of summer heat, the rarity of rainfall create common challenges. Solutions throughout the region. The techniques for finding and conserving water, for managing grazing lands, for protecting oases are shared freely among all desert dwellers. The Bedouin tribes that move seasonally across the desert recognize no political boundaries in their traditional migrations. Their grazing rights and water rights are governed by ancient customs that predate the establishment of the sheikdoms and continue to be respected by all rulers. Trading expeditions across the desert require cooperation and mutual support that transcends political divisions. Caravans carrying goods between the coast and the interior oases, or between different coastal cities, depend on the hospitality and protection offered by all communities along their routes. The traditional code of desert hospitality requires that travelers be welcomed and protected, regardless of their origin or destination. This ancient law creates safe passage for merchants, pilgrims, and messengers throughout the region, fostering trade and communication. Shared cultural traditions in music, poetry, and storytelling create common artistic heritage throughout all 7 territories. The same epic poems are recited in different courts. The same musical modes and rhythms are used in different celebrations. The same folk tales are told to children everywhere. Traditional sports and competitions bring together participants from all 7 sheikdoms. Camel racing, falconry, horse breeding, and traditional boat racing create opportunities for friendly competition and cultural exchange. The finest animals and most skilled trainers are recognized and celebrated throughout the region. Craft specializations in different territories create interdependence and trade relationships. The best boat builders might be found in one sheikdom, while the finest metal workers practice their art in another. This specialization encourages trade and creates economic connections that bind the communities together. Religious scholars and judges move freely between different territories, their knowledge and authority recognized everywhere. This mobility of religious leadership helps maintain consistency in legal and spiritual matters throughout the region. The maintenance of mosques, wells, and other public facilities often involves cooperation between different communities. Wealthy merchants from one sheikdom might fund the construction of a mosque or school in another territory, seeing such charitable works as benefiting the entire Islamic community. Traditional astronomical observations and calendar keeping are coordinated throughout the region to ensure that religious festivals and observances occur simultaneously in all communities. This coordination requires communication and cooperation between religious authorities in all 7 territories. Water rights in shared oases and along seasonal streams are negotiated according to ancient customs that recognize the mobility of desert peoples and the variability of water resources. These agreements require ongoing consultation and cooperation between different groups. The collection and distribution of zakat, the Islamic charitable tax, often crosses political boundaries as wealthy individuals support the poor and needy throughout the region, regardless of their specific tribal or territorial affiliations. This practice creates networks of mutual support that transcend political divisions. Traditional conflict resolution mechanisms provide ways to settle disputes between people from different sheikdoms without resorting to violence or formal warfare. These mechanisms rely on respected mediators, shared legal traditions, and the threat of social and economic sanctions. Seasonal labor migration brings workers from different territories together for specific tasks like date harvesting or major construction projects. These temporary communities create personal relationships and cultural exchanges that continue long after the work is completed. The great trading houses that dominate commerce throughout the Persian Gulf operate from multiple locations and maintain family connections across all 7 territories. Their success depends on their ability to navigate different political systems while maintaining consistent business practices. Traditional knowledge about agriculture, animal husbandry, and resource management is shared freely throughout the region. Innovations and improvements developed in one area quickly spread to others through networks of kinship, trade, and social connection. The training of young people in traditional skills often involves that make territorial boundaries seem artificial and arbitrary. Extended families often include members from all 7 territories, creating personal loyalties that transcend political allegiances. The movement of livestock according to seasonal grazing patterns requires cooperation and coordination between different communities. Camels, goats, and sheep move across territorial boundaries, following ancient routes that are governed by traditional agreements rather than political authority. Traditional entertainment and celebration often brings together people from multiple territories. Wedding celebrations, religious festivals, and seasonal gatherings create opportunities for social interaction, cultural exchange, and the strengthening of inter-community bonds. The preservation and transmission of oral traditions requires networks of storytellers and poets who travel between different communities. These cultural ambassadors help maintain shared heritage and common identity throughout the region. Traditional healing practices often involve pilgrimage to sacred sites or consultation with renowned healers. Regardless of their location, people travel freely between territories, seeking medical treatment or spiritual healing, creating networks of shared knowledge and mutual support. The management of shared resources like fishing grounds, grazing areas, and water sources requires ongoing consultation and cooperation between different groups. These relationships are governed by ancient customs and agreements that often predate the establishment of formal political boundaries. As you float above this peaceful landscape in the gathering twilight, you begin to understand that these 7 sheikdoms, though officially separate, are really like 7 chambers of a single heart, each one beating with its own rhythm, yet all breathing together, contributing to the same life-giving circulation. The stars emerge one by one in the darkening sky, the same constellations that have guided navigators and dreamers for countless generations. Their light falls equally on palace and fishing hut, on marketplace and mosque, on desert camp and coastal village, creating a canopy of shared wonder above all 7 territories. The gentle waves continue their eternal rhythm against all 7 shores of the Persian Gulf, while the desert wind whispers the same ancient songs across all 7 territories, and the moon rises slow and silver over a land that dreams as one. In Abu Dhabi, families gather for the evening meal, sharing dates and rice, stories and laughter, their voices joining the chorus of similar gatherings in Dubai and Sharjah, Ajman and Al-Quwain, Ras Al Khaimah and Fujairah. Each family unique, yet all part of a larger human family that spans the entire coast. The fishermen of Ajman pull their nets at the same time their brothers in Al-Quwain cast theirs, while the pearl divers of Abu Dhabi prepare for another day in the dangerous depths. Their work is individual, yet their destiny is shared. Their success or failure affects the entire community of the Gulf. Children throughout all 7 territories listen to the same bedtime stories told in the same musical Arabic that connects them to centuries of shared heritage. They dream the same dreams of adventure and achievement, romance and wisdom. Their young minds absorbing the values and aspirations that will guide them as adults. Scholars in Sharjah study the same texts that occupy their colleagues throughout the Islamic world. Their pursuit of knowledge serves not just their own communities, but the entire region, as wisdom and learning spread through networks of communication and exchange that ignore political boundaries. The merchants of Dubai count their profits, not just in gold and silver, but in the relationships they have built with trading partners throughout the Persian Gulf and beyond. Their success creates prosperity that spreads like ripples from the creek to every corner of the 7 territories. Farmers in the mountain terraces of Ras Al Khaimah and Fujairah tend their crops with the same care their ancestors used for countless generations. Their work feeds not just their own families, but contributes to the food security of the entire coastal region. The pearl divers prepare their equipment with ritual care, knowing that their lives depend on every knot, every weight, every piece of equipment working perfectly in the crushing depths. Their courage serves not just their own families, but the economic foundation of all 7 territories. Traditional craftsmen work with skills passed down through generations, creating objects of beauty and utility that serve communities throughout the region. Their art preserves ancient traditions while adapting to contemporary needs and tastes. The wind towers of Dubai and the mountain springs of Fujairah, the mangrove, lagoons of Al Quin and the pearl beds of Abu Dhabi, the scholarly libraries of Sharjah and the fishing fleets of Ajman, the mountain peaks of Ras Al Khaimah. All these different landscapes and resources complement each other like instruments in an orchestra, each contributing its unique voice to a larger symphony. As the night deepens and the stars shine more brightly in the clear desert air, you sense that something wonderful is waiting to unfold. These 7 separate territories, with their different rulers and distinct characters, are poised on the threshold of a great transformation. The threads that already connect them, the bonds of trade and kinship, faith and culture, language and tradition, are strong enough to support something larger, something that will honor their individual identities while creating new possibilities for cooperation and growth. Like 7 tributaries flowing toward the same distant sea, these sheikdoms carry within them the seeds of unity, waiting for the right moment, the right leadership, the right vision to bring them together in a partnership that will benefit all. The pearl divers who risk their lives in the same dangerous waters, the merchants who sail the same trade routes, the farmers who face the same seasonal challenges, the scholars who study the same sacred texts. All these people already live and work as members of a single community that transcends political boundaries. The children who play in the shade of date palms throughout all 7 territories, who learn the same prayers and stories, who dream the same dreams of the future. They are the generation that will inherit this land and shape its destiny. And in the gentle rhythm of waves against the shore, in the soft whisper of wind through palm fronds, in the distant call of a night bird across the water, you can hear the voice of the future calling these 7 lands toward unity. The golden light fades slowly over the dunes of all 7 territories, and the waves whisper gently against every shore from Abu Dhabi. Breathe slowly, feeling the peace of this ancient land settling into your heart as you drift deeper into restful sleep, knowing that tomorrow will bring new chapters in this beautiful story of separate streams flowing toward the same distant sea of unity, and dreams coming together like 7 notes waiting to become one magnificent song.